Guys, I've had 24 hours to think about this. It has to do with the comments that Max Kellerman made as it pertained to Cyril Gane prior to his fight with Derrick Lewis. Max made the comment, if Cyril Gane is to win this, he is going to change perception. Max argued if Cyril is to win this, remain undefeated, look good doing it, and now be the champion of the world who's getting ready to go against his own workout partner, where many of the teammates within the room that saw the workout said Cyril bested him, that Cyril could change perception, of which you will see in the betting lines leading into the fight, because Cyril will be the favorite. This was Max's contention. I had never thought about it from that standpoint, but that was the entire thing that Kellerman was arguing. He was arguing people don't even know this is happening. The viewing public and the pundits and the fans don't even know how highly they're going to regard Cyril until after the fact. And Max was right. It's happened. So now I want to ask you a question. Is Cyril Gane versus Francis Ngannou the biggest fight in heavyweight history? We're going to have to guess and speculate. You're going to have to look internally and say, what is my level of anticipation for this? If you were anticipating this fight more than any other fight, then yes, you would go into the category of predicting that it's the biggest fight heavyweight in UFC history. I know we're not there yet. I know we have a lot of time. We haven't even started to build this thing up. We haven't even figured out these two guys, friends, fellow Frenchmen, training together currently, how they're going to work out practice structures. What coaches are going to go with which guy? Which training partners are going to pick and go with which guy? You may have training partners that don't pick and go, I'm going to do a 2 o'clock workout with Francis, do a 5 o'clock workout with Cyril. Not going to tell anyone anything, so don't even ask me if I'm doing that. But I have the right to continue on with both of my teammates, and I'm getting, okay, that's an interesting story. I'll be in for that. Colby Covington doing something very similar, right? When he was getting ready to fight Masvidal. Fight that was lingered, fight we thought was going to happen, even rumored going to be the coaches of the Ultimate Fighter. Colby left the gym, but some coaches went with him, and so did some workout partners. That's all part of the story, whether that fight materialized or not. What I'm sharing with you is if you think perhaps Cyril and Francis is going to be the biggest fight in UFC history, you haven't seen anything yet. They haven't even started to tell this story. You might remember Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo, just to offer you a recent example that I know everybody watched. But when people started coming out, Renan Barão specifically started coming out and talking about seeing the sparring sessions between Aldo and between Yan, things started to change. When people were in the practice room with Cody Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw, and they started to come out and talk about what it is they saw, perception of that fight and interest started to change. We have not even scratched the beginning of telling the story of Cyril versus Francis. We've done the easy, lazy, low-hanging fruit so far. They both are from France. They're both heavyweights. They both have a belt that looks similar. They both like to stand up and kickbox. They're both very good at finishing fights. That in and of itself still has me asking the question, do you perceive this to be the biggest fight in UFC history? Because if you're at all there, guys, and I'm close to that, I can't think of one. Randy Couture versus Tim Sylvia in the world of anticipation was huge at the time. Brock Lesnar versus Overeem in terms of anticipation. Now, that show ended up going on a Friday night, first Friday night show in 18 years. People didn't know what it was on. The numbers aren't going to back up my claim, but anticipation-wise, that was a big one. And I would have to think Cyril, interim champion, versus Francis, undisputed champion, has got to have a higher level of anticipation than a WWE tough guy versus Reem. I would think that. It's very interesting. And it's also, I got to give Max Kellerman credit. He called this ahead of time. He called this, and it's very obvious now. But I still believe that this was a miscalculation on the chessboard, strategically talking from Francis's camp. Francis did not want Derrick Lewis, period. Now, you can add the Y in there, which I know Team Francis is really big on saying. It's similar to Conor McGregor wanted to say, I lost, but it was a doctor stoppage. I don't really care how you lost. You got beat and you got finished quickly. And as Francis goes, I don't care why you didn't want Derrick. He didn't like the circumstances. He was traveling. He didn't like the train. Either way, he didn't want Derrick. He now has to fight somebody who's 288 punches better than Derrick, and that's just by the stats. 288 punches to 11. That makes you 20 times better. If you want to go off those numbers, it makes you 20 times better. Would you rather have not had a training camp but taken on a guy that got the 11, or a full training camp but you take on the guy that got 288? Do you see the problem? Do you see the miscalculation? But that's also part of the story. I'm not giving Francis a bump right now. If he's got the courage to walk out there and do it, and all he wants is to have a training camp, he doesn't care who the opponent is, he gets full credit for that. But for me to look at it and say, this was a mistake. You should have gone to Houston. You should have taken your shirt off. And you should have fought the guy that got the 11, not wait until December or January and take on the guy that got the 288.